Hi, it's Wendy from Simple Spirituality, and I wanted to talk to you today for a few minutes about your Akashic record. Like, why do you care about your Akashic record? What's held in your Akashic record that is impacting you in your present life today, and how that can be cleared? And so let's talk about it. So, the Akashic record is the history of your soul from its moment of creation, from that moment that you separated from source. Your Akashic record holds your choices, the consequences of those choices, experiences that happen to you. It's like your soul's story. It's like this epic journey that we're all on. And so it's this huge amount of history and information that impacts you. That soul, as soon as it comes into a body, it's not starting fresh. Like our human perspective is from the context of this lifetime, but our soul's perspective, that deepest, most authentic part of us, is bringing in all kinds of history and choices through eons, through many, many lifetimes. And we're not even aware sometimes of how that's affecting us. But hey, we're not actually aware of how present life choices are affecting us either. And so before I plunge into the Akashic record piece, I want to talk for just a minute about the process of decision making and in our present life. And so let's make it tangible and use an example. So let's say that in my mid-20s, I'm out on my own. It's scary. I don't have like a real connection with my family. I'm trying to support myself. I'm feeling overwhelmed emotionally and financially. And so this guy comes along, and he's not my soulmate. He's not what I pictured. We don't really have a deep and authentic connection. We have caring, and he is stable and well-to-do, and that's attractive to me. And so on this deep level, as I'm considering this relationship with this man, I choose to place security and stability above what truly feeds my heart and soul. And I trade intimacy and authentic connection and a spiritual partnership for what feels safe, even though at my core, I know that's not a good choice for me, but it's an attractive choice. And so I make the choice. And so daily, as I'm in a relationship with this man, I am making that choice. Not consciously. In the beginning, it's conscious, or in the beginning, discomfort begins to bubble up. Like my soul is saying, my heart is saying, this isn't right for you. That's not right. It's not aligned. It's not who you really are. And I quiet that down by justifying my choice. And I justify my choice by saying, that initial romantic love always wears off. What we have is a solid foundation to raise a family. I justify a misaligned choice, a choice that doesn't honor the beauty and complexity of who I am at my deepest level. And so I justify it. That is an even bigger misalignment than the original choice. And it becomes a habit. And I don't think about it anymore, but every single day I'm upholding the choice. And that habit becomes a belief. And the unconscious belief that I now hold is that stability and security is more important than this wild, authentic piece of me that's my soul. And I may spend 50 years in a relationship with this man, not thinking about it every day, but deeply ingraining the unconscious belief and the choice that is out of alignment for me. Make sense? Okay. And so taking that example, let's say that didn't happen in this lifetime. Let's say that happened 5 lifetimes ago. And my soul continues to hold that choice, uphold the choice. And so in the next lifetime, I come in with blinders on. I have an unconscious belief from a prior lifetime that upholds a choice to go with the security over the passion and the authenticity and true intimacy that would feed who I am at soul level. And so I make the choice for that lifetime. Now it's buried even deeper, right? So think of the fairy tale of the princess and the pea. And she's got like 20 mattresses, but deep underneath there's still this uncomfortable thing that she's, that is disturbing her, that's bringing her out of alignment. So that is the process, whether it's present life choices that you've made that you don't even think about anymore. And then you wonder why life is unfulfilling and I always attract guys that don't flip my switch, right? Well, because, you have a choice still in place. If it's past lifetimes, you don't have any context for that. And so why does it matter? It matters because those choices are still affecting you. But now you're 2 lifetimes later and you can't put your finger on why this always happens to you because you don't have the context from the human perspective. But from the past life perspective, from the perspective of the Akashic record, it's clear once you're looking at the whole story of the soul, where the misalignment occurred, what the choice was, and how it's affecting you today. So that's the reason it even matters that we look for what is being held in the Akashic record that is keeping you out of alignment with that deepest part of who you are. Now, I've been a healer for a long time. I've worked with people on life patterns for over 20 years, over 25 years. And it used to really tick me off actually when in a healing session, whether shamanic or whatever I was doing, that past life stuff would come up because often I saw people want to jump into, let's look at my past lives because it was more comfortable for them than looking at their present life. And so I kind of avoided this whole process for a long time unless, spirit kind of forced it on me because it was profoundly important during a session. But when I found soul realignment and I found this Akashic record work, I discovered a way to make the journey of the soul tangible and practical for people because my intention is always to help you understand only what you need to know about the past life in order to make your present life work better. Because you guys know me, and so you know what I'm about is a vibrant, fulfilling, powerful, embodied experience in the present life. And that's what soul realignment work does. And so let's take just a few quick examples because I could talk about this for hours, but I want to keep it short for you. Just a few examples of how some of that past life stuff can show up in present life. And so what I almost always find, it's the rarity that I do not find this when I'm checking somebody's Akashic record. I often find a vow or a couple vows that they made in past lives that they're still upholding, that is affecting them negatively. And let's talk about that. So a vow is a promise. That's deep at the soul level. And it has emotional intensity behind it. And it's made to God, usually to your understanding in that lifetime of God, or, a person that in that lifetime you understood to be a representative of God, right? And so when entering religious orders, we would take these vows as part of being accepted into the order. And man, it's so common. It's like I said, there's maybe with the 70 or so soul realignment readings I've done, I've maybe found 2 that didn't have at least one vow still affecting the person negatively. And let me give you a couple examples. So let's just say you entered a religious order in a lifetime and you took a vow of poverty, a vow of obedience, and a vow of sacrifice. Let's talk about how those work out. And so a vow of poverty, man, this is huge. This is huge. Now, people will often say to me, people often say to me this. They say, it's amazing. The universe always comes through for me because I need this amount of money and I have no idea where it's going to come from. And then at the last minute, the exact amount of money I need will show up in some way. And so I love that because it tells me that the universe is looking out for me. And I mean, I could do a whole video just on that belief right there, but without going way into it, let's just take that piece. The universe is looking out for me because I need money. I get the exact amount of money I need. Okay. I hate to tell you this, but that the universe is just responding to you, to your beliefs and the energy you're putting out. And that can very well be a vow of poverty. Because in a religious order, what's the setup? Like your basic needs are met, right? You have food, you have clothing, you have a place to sleep. You have the basics. What a vow of poverty does is it creates this belief that I just get my basic needs met, but there's no abundance. I don't ever get ahead, right? And so in a present life where there's no religious order and there's no whatever, it manifests as whenever I get extra money, I get an extra bill. You know, my basic needs are met, but somehow I can't crack the code to get ahead. And that may very likely be this vow of poverty that's all connected to a situation in a past life that you're still attached to and upholding. So that's the vow of poverty. The second one I want to talk about quickly, say it's a vow of obedience, right? Because, God knows religious orders need a pecking order and you've got to promise, to be obedient. Vow of obedience does two interesting things. It makes you afraid to confront authority. It makes authority figures have too much power in your life and feel intimidating. And interestingly, it also makes you want to rebel against all authority at the same time. And so whenever confronted with authority, you're really in a push-pull. And it can create a deep distrust of taking your own power for fear you will misuse authority. And so it can actually have you keep your own power and authority at arm's length because there's this vow of obedience that is doing this push-pull with you. And that's messy. And lastly, and most interestingly, let's talk about this vow of sacrifice, right? And so a vow of sacrifice when entering the convent or religious order is I'm going to give up, all my worldly possessions and marriage and blah, 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 to devote myself, right? That's the context in a religious order, vow of sacrifice. In present life, without that context, what a vow of sacrifice becomes is a deep-seated belief which then creates the experience that everything has a cost, right? If things go well, you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop because you have a deep-seated belief that the scales have to equalize, that a sacrifice will always be required. And so it totally is in the way of you living in an abundant universe because whenever you get something good, you can't trust it. You can't relax into it. You can't say to the universe, I love that. More of that, please, because you have this deep-seated belief that what you get is going to cost you. And there's always going to be the other shoe dropping. And we can manifest self-sabotaging situations all the time. And it's not necessarily just in money, right? Like something really good happens in a relationship, and then something really bad happens at work, right? And again, it creates this balancing of the scales that we're unaware that we're an energetic match to, or we're actually magnetizing to us. And so just a few examples of how some things in your Akashic record can actually be affecting you today, and why it's a great idea to explore that with someone, because those things can be cleared. You can clear the old history. Your soul is always clearing anyway, right? That's just the process of karma: choice, consequence, choice, consequence, until we choose differently, take different action that will then create different consequences. And so you're always changing things, you're always clearing things, but if you're really looking at some of those repetitive things that don't make any sense from the context of this lifetime, it's great to have someone look at your Akashic record and understand and help you draw the conclusions, to help you make the connections, so that you can move forward without all that baggage behind you and truly live into your authenticity and your power and your abundance. And so I hope this is helpful. Please comment on this video if I can give you any other information around this topic. And please check out my website, wendyflaherty.com, if you're interested in the Akashic record work I do. So take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.